All right, welcome everybody. This is it's iBUG's Live for June 22nd, 2023. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking about emergency preparedness. We're iBUG, and many of you, I recognize your names and your voices, but anybody who doesn't know, we're a nonprofit based in Houston. We have a couple of things going on this weekend, so get ready. Tomorrow we have our movie night. 8 Central, 7:30 Social Time, movie, name that tune, all that kind of crazy stuff. So come tomorrow, we're going to be watching Paper Moon, starring Ryan O'Neal and his real life daughter, Tatum O'Neal. Should be a fun kind of movie. And then Saturday, we have the Apple workshop from 2 to 4. We're going to be talking about some very important things that we deal with every day on our iPhone. So please come for that. And we'll be doing some good, fun demonstrations. And then we're off. And then we'll be having the Buzz call where we talk about anything related to your iPhone on Monday. Tuesday is Mac and Talk. Wednesday we're off. Thursday is I don't even know what Thursday is. Oh, you know what? I think it's a fifth Thursday, so I think we are actually off. Wow. Okay, so enjoy. Okay, and then back again Friday. We'll have another movie. Okay, so what else? We are. If anybody's coming to any of the conventions, I've been kind of mentioning this on our various calls. If you are going to be there, we'd love to see you. We'll be at the ACB, American Council Fund, in Schaumburg, Illinois. And then we'll be here at the NFB convention in Houston. So I hope to see some of you guys. Really would love to meet you. And we will also be part of the virtual ACB convention actually tomorrow. Uh, Brad and I will be doing the demonstration of some tracking and other location devices called Lost in Space. We had a lot of fun doing it, so hopefully if you haven't heard it before, we hope that you will come and hear that tomorrow if you have already registered with ACB. Okay, now uh, I will hand it over to George. George, you want to take over? You want to shall we get an introductions?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do, well, no problem. I can do both.
Okay, go ahead.
Uh, Good afternoon to some of you. Good evening to the rest of you. Welcome to another edition of It's iBUG's Life. And before we dive into the major topic that's going to be discussed this month, which, as you guys know, spread the word, we do meet for this segment of the iBug platform every fourth Thursday at 7 p.m. Central. But before we dive into all of that, what I like to do, I like to know who's all here. So come off mute. I know when we started the recording, I think everybody got muted, so you can come off mute and say your name and where are you joining us from?
Angelo in Ottawa, and I'd like to know about battery walls.
Okay.
Elisa in Porter.
Jake from Michigan.
Welcome, Elisa. Welcome, Michigan.
John in Austin.
John in Austin. I was there last week.
Oh, great.
Gloria from Houston.
Hey, Gloria from across the way. Across the way
Ed
from me.
Ed from Georgetown, Ontario.
Georgetown, Ontario. That's Canada. Okay. Who else?
Ned from Texas.
Okay,
Ned from
Ed
Texas.
and Ned. All right.
Ed, where's Ed from?
Georgetown.
Oh, okay. That was you. My bad.
Yeah.
All right, who else? We got more than 7 people
now
here.
Unmuted. Mute my audio button.
Wendy from Ontario.
Wendy from Ontario. Okay.
Hi, this is Shay
Welcome.
from Seattle.
Shay from Seattle, Canada, or Seattle, Washington?
In Seattle, Washington.
This is Dave from Mississauga in Ontario, Canada.
Okay. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks, George.
Ben from Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Mhm.
Sorry that my Tigers had to take care of the Tennessees in the College World Series, but I'm not rubbing it in, I promise. Next.
Melinda from Wisconsin.
Okay, well, Linda, you are very new to me. Welcome.
I want to ask how our new people heard about us. Like, Melinda, how'd you hear about iBUG?
A fellow NFB member sent it out.
All right. Well, good. Are you coming to the convention? Maybe not. Okay. All right. Keep going, George. This is Sandy from Houston.
Okay, Sandy, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else? Or we just dive into this?
I see Richard is on.
Hello, Sonia. This is Richard from New York.
Hey, there you are. Welcome. Okay. I think we got everybody.
Okay. I guess I'll just, if they come in later, which does happen, they can introduce. So we got a lot of new people. I'm glad to see that. Nothing wrong with the regulars, but that means somebody's spreading the word. So my name is George. Since we have a lot of new people, I guess I need to really introduce myself. My name is George. I'm from Houston as well. And normally for this week, for this type of platform, we usually discuss kind of like things you can fix at home, repairs, maybe discuss recipes and things like that from a non-visual perspective. And we do that because I'm someone who does not have any vision, but I actually, teach these things, I mean, working for the state of Texas, usually if somebody refer my services, that's what I usually go and show them alternative techniques of doing daily activities, whether it's in a home or at work, especially mainly to folks who either have lost their vision or are losing their vision. And we just show them alternative techniques of getting your normal things done, because usually when people lose their vision, that's such an important thing to go without when you're used to having it for most of the part. So I pretty much give them a light up to the tunnel, let them know that things are not over with. There is another way you can do this while they happen to rely on that vision. And so this platform Discovered was developed because of that. So now some of the things I may discuss is some of it may be somewhat textbooks, it's not, but you will be able to accomplish it whether if you have no vision and have never done it before. Now, usually when I do this too, if anybody has a question or a comment they'd like to suggest, we do ask that you say your name, wait to be acknowledged, and then we will yield the floor to you. Okay. Now, this month, since we're in the start of some disasters or tragic things that could occur, mainly like the hurricane season, we're in June. We're going to call this emergency preparedness. Make sure that you have everything in place so that you and your household and your family, your loved ones will be prepared in the event that something unexpected or expected occurs. We actually have two kind of things going on right now here in Texas, and pretty much the whole state of Texas is been under like a big heat wave for like the last week and a half. Oh, there had been some heat alert, dangerous heat alert, where all the actual temperature Fahrenheit has gotten to 100 degrees Fahrenheit with a heat index of like 112 or 114. Thought it might have cooled off a little bit today because we did here in Houston, after like about 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, maybe 9, we had a bad rainstorm. I mean, it had a lot of wind for a brief moment. Then there was a lot of lightning. Some people lost power. If you was at the beginning, unfortunately, Sunday was victimized for power going out. I was fortunate that my power did not go out, but I did get prepared for it. Kind of like, I think, well, I have a water cooler, so I have no problems having water. But I make sure that batteries were in a place where I can locate them to put in a ready if I need to. Because unfortunately, when the lightning is that bad, no matter how massive a place you have, nothing can stop lightning. I mean, lightning light down big buildings. So yeah, we got dangerous heat, and then we got lightning. Then even somewhere in the Atlantic, there's actually a tropical storm. Tropical storm, I think it's Brett. That's way out there. I think they said it should be falling apart by Saturday. But I think when I heard this morning, I think maximum sustained winds was 70 miles an hour. But when it moved, it should be fall apart by Saturday. No really threat to anything. I think the closest it may get to any island is probably Bermuda, if I remember that correctly. I could be wrong. And then there's another wave that is developing that if it forms into a depression, it's going to be called Cindy. And Cindy is also no threat to anything, at least for the United States. Now, ironically, if it wasn't, how you get these things on Facebook that says we care about your memories on Facebook. And I noticed I had made a post 6 years ago about a tropical storm that was coming, threatening close to Houston. It was named Cindy. So I don't know if they're running out of names or just maybe Cindy has been reincarnated, but just nowhere near here. So this is why we thought, since it's the time of the month where you have all kind of things happening, we're going to discuss emergency preparedness and how to properly prepare, make sure that you have everything in place. Now, the one thing I would say that you need to do is make a to-do list. To-do list is things that you want to get in place and make sure that you have everything, that you are fully prepared, that you're not, as some people may say, caught with your pens down. Have access to residential surroundings, such as, wherever you're, wherever you're living, if you live on the first floor, or you live on a high floor, get familiar with all of those surroundings. Make sure you have access to all of your medications, your insurance cards, your important documents. Definitely want to make sure all that's put together where you can get to it in the event that you have to evacuate. So have these things like in a safe place, those important documents. Prescriptions and the instructions and all of that. Insurance cards, in the event you want to be prepared, you may have to go someplace, you will need that insurance card. Your official identification, meaning your driver's license, if you still have one, or your official state ID. In Canada, what would you call it? I know here in the United States, if somebody who is not driving, we get like a state ID. Is that kind of like this? What's the equivalent in Canada? If anyone could come off mic and answer that. What will be your official identification if you don't have a driver's license?
This is Angelo. We have a provincial ID that's a different color from the driver's license, but looks very similar.
Okay, good. Glad you're on here because I never knew that, never had. But since we have at least 5 of you from Canada, I think that's good to address. So thank you for providing me with that. So you want to make sure you have that. And if you got adults with you, make sure they have theirs as well. Have a plan. If you need to evacuate, where are you going to go? Routes hooking up. If you have a relative that lives in a far enough place you need to evacuate to, Call them in advance, especially if it's something like a hurricane or a wildfire or things that you can plan for. Now, of course, there are things like tornadoes. Unfortunately, you cannot travel because the tornadoes, once they're here, they're here. And we're gonna talk about that because I do have that on a list of things to talk about how to prepare for that. But you definitely want to have a plan of action. If you are going to be traveling, have one person to be assigned. If it's not you, which hotel are we going to go to? How many days? You might want to also, I don't think when we had this discussion before, Sonny, I don't think I had it on the list. At least I don't see it on my list here. But I will say, and you hear this a lot of times on, if anybody listens to these financial shows, have an emergency fund. What if it's a separate bank account or maybe some emergency cash aside? Although a lot of places are now slowly evolving to be a paperless environment where some of them don't take cash, but some of them or they may have two separate ways where they can take cash or a card, and they prefer that. So yeah, have like whatever you can afford, or even start building on it. Put some of that money aside, like for traveling. If you have a family, someone who's going to drive, or if you're even traveling by interstate buses, and they're going to be stopping someplace, you may need to grab like some snacks or some refreshments along the way, or whatever you may need. So it may be good to build up an emergency fund. Now, some people may say put enough funds aside to cover yourself for 3 months or 6 months, depends on who it is. I'm not here to tell you or to advise you how much you should put aside, but at least have something that can last. And then, of course, it depends on the disaster as well. And if you haven't done it, I would like to just offer you to, try to start working on that. Make sure you have some batteries. I think I mentioned this, but I'll mention it again for like portable devices such as flashlights. So if you have not all flashlights have the same size or take the same size batteries. Some flashlights take AA, some take C, some take D batteries. And then you have some flashlights that are crank. You can wind it up. And which means when that crank runs out, you're going to wind it up again. And I think it's like for short-term basis, not for through the night for hours at a time. But want to make sure that if you have flashlight, make sure the batteries are still good and working. You want to test them out. Portable phone chargers. Those things, I've never thought those things would be such a necessity, but me, they have become a necessity because I do some traveling. So it's always a good idea to have a portable phone charger and keep that, have I would say, if you can, have two of them. And then make sure they can fit in your pocket or your purse or whatever you have, so that it'll allow you to keep your smart devices, whether it's an iPhone, Android, or some sort of tablet, that if you do not have access to electric power, you can charge those up. Okay. Does anybody have any comments or suggestions to add to these things that I've just listed as far as a to-do list? And this is what I'm talking about now. You might, even if you're going to be traveling by bus too, I just thought about this. Got a friend of mine who does this a lot. Pack yourself a bag of especially if you're going to be traveling on a city bus like a Greyhound or a Mega Bus or a Flixbus or Amtrak or something like that, to help save on money. Make yourself like a snack bag, that have like perishable items such as, if it's chips, if you eat those, crackers, if you eat those, maybe some people eat beef jerky. I don't, but I guess, that's easy to pack and store. Bottles of water, not a whole lot, well, no, if you're on a bus, yeah, you might want to keep maybe however much your traveling bag can fit. Now, if you're traveling by car, then yeah, you probably could have a case. I wouldn't probably suggest a lot of sugary type drinks because you want something that's going to keep you hydrated and will last, and it's more healthier anyway. Okay. Anybody? I heard somebody come off mute. Did someone wanted to say something?
My phone has joined the meeting alert.
Okay.
This
I
is Richard.
will. Hey, Richard, go ahead.
Excuse me. Here, anywhere, I think you also should check your medical coverage in this state or county where you live, because here where I live, they offer services too by your coverage if you have your Medicaid, Medicare coverage. And I have that happen here when power outages or heavy storms. Your insurance can call you up if, you need anything. So I would definitely bring that up and check with your
Vincent
coverage
has
and see
joined
what
the
they
meeting
offer too.
alert.
Okay. So make sure if you have insurance, if there's coverage in an area where you're going to be evacuating to, if you need to evacuate, that's what you're saying?
Yes, and they do provide some things if there's a power outage distinct
Mm-hmm.
of, you don't have to evacuate or anything, but if there's going to be power outage for a stint of period of time, they do
Mm-hmm.
here through the coverage of your Medicaid, Medicare, whatever this coverage is, they offer water services, delivery services, food delivery services.
Gotcha.
And if you do have to be evacuated, they do even have some services there, but I would suggest to check where you live because it can vary from county to county to state to state.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Because actually, it even ties into one thing like here in Houston. We have a thing called 211, or is it 311? This is one of those where you can call and get registered with them, especially if you're someone with a physical disability, where you would get on the list. And if, the city has the issue like either a mandatory or voluntary evacuation in your area, folks in this particular department would, if you're on that list, they will call you to see if you need any assistance, if you need anything, especially if you are unable to evacuate and you have to stay put. That service, by being on the list, you are on the list where elected city officials would also can assist, making sure that you're staying safe and you have everything that you need. So that's what we have here in Houston and in most states as well. It's a free service where you can register them. It's not mandatory to register them, but sometimes they usually advise that you do, so that way you have elected officials can have you on a list to contact if you need any supplies or any extra services. Okay, any other comments before I move on to hurricanes?
Yeah, Julia.
Say your name again.
Julia.
Julia. Okay, hi, Julia.
Yeah. You should always have a first aid kit.
First aid kit. Thank you.
Like
Shame on me for not mentioning that.
With everything.
Right, exactly. And first aid kits will have, it's good to have though, because you never know what you may need them for. They have like the gauze, the Band-Aids, rubbing alcohol if needed, peroxide, Q-tips. So remember how I said, check to make sure your batteries are working, your flashlights are working, have batteries for the portable radio. Check your first aid kit supplies. Make sure everything is in there you need. And then I guess you would keep your first aid kit, I would say, near your prescribed medications that you have to take on a daily basis on a regular schedule. So thank you, Julie, for mentioning that. In fact, I'm added to my list right now. So if we do this again, I will definitely have that there. Okay, anybody else?
Hi, this is Melinda. I also have dry bags. I have like document size, but also even one that like I can put my cell phone in that attaches to a lanyard to keep my stuff from getting like water damaged.
Dry bag, that's what they call. Are they padded? They're like sealable, like a Ziploc or
They're
something?
like big plastic bags that seal up, so they're airtight.
Okay.
And some of them will even like float and stuff like that.
Okay. Is that something that's easy to acquire? Like they say, like you mainly big box wholesale stores like your Walmart, Targets, or Amazon, of course. I started because I'm typing. I'm writing it down because I didn't have that on the list too. Okay. All right. Now, besides those of us who are in Texas, I know we had Seattle. I can't remember if we had any West Coast folks here, but my next on my list is to talk about hurricanes. Now, hurricanes, as you know, if there's any silver lining to look at about a hurricane coming to an area where you live, you can see it coming. Give you time to prepare. All the forecasters that are on your local media outlets such as TV and radio, they have all these instruments and radars and satellite hookups to where they can monitor the storm coming, and they can tell what size it is, how big it's going to be. They can somewhat come close, not pin exactly where the hurricane is going to make landfall. But if there's something this big, and if you live in an area that may get a lot of flooding, or you may lose power, that's the one thing you can prepare for that. So if you notice a hurricane, we can have maximum sustained winds, where they got different categories. But if they get big enough, they definitely could knock out power. So you can lose power not only to your electricity, you can lose power to your wireless connection, your Wi-Fi connection, because wires are going down. Towers may be affected by it. You may lose power to whatever type of, I'm saying cable. I know we all don't have cable. Whatever type of cable service you have or satellite service you have, you can lose stuff to it. So organize. If a hurricane is coming to you, I would say have an organized evacuation plan, meaning who are you going to travel with? How are you going to travel? Where are you going to travel to? Start thinking that in place. Now, just a little thing about me, since we have new people here. I'm originally from New Orleans. I moved to Houston in 2005, September of 2005. And if anybody have any memory of disasters that happened weather-wise in 2005, I was victimized by that. Anyone on here is familiar with Hurricane Katrina? Exactly. Has anyone on here not heard about Hurricane Katrina that happened 18 years ago? Okay. Silence means everyone has heard of it. Yes, I actually was in New Orleans at the time when the hurricane was coming. And I'm going to deviate for like maybe 2 minutes. I just want to give you the reason why I was there. In New Orleans, a lot of major storms in that particular area of the Gulf South will come, it will be a threat to come, and then it will turn at the last minute. I don't know if we were just blessed or we're just fortunate, whatever you want to call it, but it happened a lot. So even in 2004, there was a huge storm called Hurricane Ivan that was threatening to come to the city. They said we might have like squalls of water about 20 feet high. That's what they was predicting. So I don't think for Ivan this way it was a mandatory evacuation, but it was strongly advised. So, and the closer it got, it looked like it was going to happen. So we decided we're going to leave. We're going to get out of here. I think we was going to come to Houston. And the only reason I think I was coming to Houston because I did have some family here at the time. And I had a friend of mine who lives here, they still live here. I was going to say who used to live here. But they had offered that if we needed to come to them, they will, shelter us. So I remember preparing, I remember having a landline phone and a cell phone. I'm calling all of these hotels, being on hold, trying to book a room. And I think I was on hold with Motel 6 on one phone. Then I was on hold with, I don't remember the other hotel. And after 45 minutes, they both answered at the same time. So now I'm trying to juggle conversations. I think one of them ended up getting tired and hung up on me. But so I made a plan. I was able to get at least one room where I think part of who I was going to be traveling with, I was going to have them stay in the hotel, and I was going to go stay at the friend of mine's house. Well, when we got on the road and decided to leave. We said we'll leave at midnight because probably the roads wouldn't be too crowded. So that way it should be smooth sailing. But it looked like everybody decided to leave at midnight. And it took us 8.5 hours to go 80 miles, which means we made it to Baton Rouge at about 8:30 in the morning after leaving at midnight. And we took a break, stopped in a McDonald's, got some breakfast. And then an hour and a half later, we heard the storm turn. So we went back home. And it took us like 55 minutes to get back home. So fast forward to 2005, the same thing's happening again. And a lot of us saying, okay, no, this has been happening a lot. We're not going through that trouble of trying to evacuate because it was too much trouble. So we didn't go. And few of us didn't go. And pretty much as if you read on the news, a lot of people didn't go because we didn't think it was coming. Until, matter of fact, I went to a live taping of Wheel of Fortune that was happening. It was BFM in New Orleans at the time. I just thought about that because I remember Pat Sajak announced that he's retiring from Wheel of Fortune. But I digress a little bit. So I went to the live taping of that. And then when I woke up Sunday morning, we're like, uh-oh, that thing is not turning this time. So it was too late for me to make evacuation plans because it was scheduled to approach within 24 hours, which means things had already closed. It was too late to try to get in the hotel rooms because we had more of us was going to be traveling that time. So we had to, as I said in Houston, hunker down or go someplace where, we can shelter in place for a while until the storm passed. I was fortunate that my brother was working security at the Superdome. So he said anybody who was employees for this company called USF&G, they was guaranteed, some spots that was not going to be down on the floor where you heard about all the stuff that was going on the news. We was like in the luxury box seats area where we was able to get good food and stuff. But even though for those first, I would say maybe a day and a half, the Superdome lost power that Monday morning, and the conditions deteriorated as time went by. So I'm not going to tell the whole Katrina story, but that's how I ended up in Houston, because I didn't have an evacuation plan, and the house we lived in was totally destroyed. We didn't have nothing to go back to. I was working for Walmart at the time, and they just promised any associates who had to evacuate was guaranteed positions where we was working at. So that's how I ended up in Houston. So that's why I say it's good to have an evacuation plan. I think that's the reason why I went on the road, because we didn't really have a plan that particular year. And the worst in it. So know where you're going to go, who you're going to be traveling with, how you're going to travel. And if you got that plan in place, that would make things a whole lot more smoother. I'm not going to say it's going to make it perfect, but at least you have a plan. It's always good to have a plan. So whatever you're going to do. Have a way to monitor the storm. I kind of talked about this earlier. You want to monitor, whether it's with a radio, with going to live stream services. If you have your smart device where you can stream certain TV stations, media outfits, or checking websites, or having apps, having applications that will help you to be able to monitor the storm that you are sheltering from. Have access to a hotspot, because if electricity go out, hopefully the towers will still be up. That if you have a portable wire hotspot, or if your phone have the hotspot, that it allow you to still to be able to connect or use I know it's LTE with iPhones. What is it called for Android? Or is that the same thing, where you're just using the whatever available wireless connection you can make, where you can be using your data to be able to stream or look up information? But make sure you have access to that. If you're traveling with family, then it's good that you have multiple people with smartphones, multiple people with portable chargers, so that way you can still keep in touch with everything that is going on. Anybody have any thoughts or comments on that thus far before I move on? Man, and again, if anybody, if you have something to say, remember, just come off mute, say your name, and we will acknowledge you. Now,
This is Sandy.
hey, go ahead, Sandy.
We're talking a lot about the hurricanes, and that's obviously where we are coming from our perspective. But a lot of this applies to, people are facing, these massive wildfires and, tornadoes that are moving,
Mm-hmm.
they're really like, they're all over now. Before they seemed to be in like the tornado alley, and now they're like, seem to be moving eastward. So, anyways, it's like all of this applies to many different things. And,
Mm-hmm.
and we're right now in the middle of summer, but, blizzards, I mean, it's all the same kind of thing, having your, uh, being able to survive for, I think they tell you to be prepared for at least 3 days. You should be able to live, self-sufficiently. So, that was just my comment.
Yeah, and absolutely, because I would say 3 or 4 days is enough, because that's what it did. That when if there's anything that we did plan for in Katrina, I did take at least 3 days worth of clothes. We took our electronics and I put them up, just in case, if water got in, they wouldn't get totally destroyed. But we did not anticipate the storm was going to do that much damage. It was coming, and it wouldn't be safe to stay where I was staying at, which is like about probably 5 or 6 miles from the levee. So any electronics I had, they got destroyed anyway, because I think it was the mark on the house showed 6.5 to 7 feet of water got in the house. But yeah, all these things, these preparedness is pretty much for every disaster that you may have to go through. Now,
This is Sandy. One more comment.
mm-hmm.
Are you going to talk? I mean, we talked about, and it kind of struck me when the power went out last night. I mean, the our dependence on our technology, and I'm like, I looked at the minute the power went out, I looked at my phone and it was 2%. I'm like, oh my goodness. And it never goes that far, but we just have to really, we talk a lot about this on our, conference calls on the buzz and so forth, about having good backup battery supplies for your iPhone and your other devices, because we're so dependent on them. So, and then even if you have that, luckily you'll have your cellular signal. We lost our internet. You don't realize how much you depend on your internet until you're talking to the A lady or SIRI, and she's not saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, she's saying, just a second.
Yeah,
Still
just a
trying.
second. Or also, I realize, once your power goes out, to turn on, maybe go on airplane mode, because the phone is constantly looking for a signal. So you're wearing your
Right.
battery out. I learned that the hard way too. So
Okay.
just
I'm glad.
throwing that out there.
I didn't even realize that too, about the airplane mode, the way of saving the battery. That is a good tip. Because you're right, it is constantly trying to connect somewhere. It needs
Uh-huh.
that lifeline. It's almost like somebody
Yeah.
losing their vision. They're looking for something, looking for information. These devices are looking for, hey, where'd you go? I can't. I need to connect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
did mention about to make sure you have like portable chargers, portable power. And hopefully you have a hotspot that can connect to something. Because we do need a lifeline for information. If you decide that you're not going to go and you're not going to do any evacuating, then this is where, keeping lots of batteries is help, for the radio, for the flashlight. Keep bottles of water, stack up on bottles of water, so you can stay hydrated. It may be okay. You can have like some Gatorade if you need flavor, or maybe some vitamin C, like orange juice or something like that. If it's you're not allergic to it, definitely check with your PCP, your primary care physician. Besides water, what's good for you to snack up on. Non-perishable foods and snacks. I did mention earlier about crackers or summer sausages, or if you have kids, Vienna sausages. They love those. Ritz crackers, maybe some chips, something to the way you can maintain something. Have candles. Those who may, if you have a loved one that does have vision, you know, when lights go out, you know, we may be aware, sighted folks panic. So they need some sort of light. Now, you don't want to rely on the flashlight on your phone because that's going to drain your battery. So I wouldn't say, oh, I got the flashlight on my phone. Yeah, the flashlight on the phone is very good, and I hear it's very bright, but it also drains that battery too. So that's why good. Make sure you have a supply of candles, and where you're going to place the candles at, not too close to anything that are flammable. Okay. Anyone else about hurricanes? Because I'm going to move on to tornadoes next. And anybody got any questions?
This is Jody.
Okay. Hey, Jody.
Hi, George. I've heard it really highly recommended that you not rely on candles at all because of the, you know, whether you're sighted or blind, you've got a, you know, an added risk there where if you have a battery lantern, then you're not going to have any kind of problems. Especially you don't want to light candles if you have cats.
Okay. So I guess it's going to be a person who goes, I've always heard, well.
This is Richard. I was going to say the same thing with the candles. If you have pets, it's your preference or if you're going to use it, but like you had mentioned, watching where you put it. And if you still want to use the candles, just really be careful. But yes, if you got pets, you might be at a little higher risk because cats like to jump, dogs like to jump. So I would be caution using candles, but it's your preference. But watch, like you had mentioned, watch where you put them. Make sure there's nothing flammable around.
All right, and I will say this too, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't have pets, so I tend to probably not mindful of it, but I am making a note of that because I want to make sure if I'm presenting information, it's something that's serviceable for everyone. But I think if you're going to use candles too, I wouldn't say don't go to sleep with the candle. You know, use a candle for whatever you need to be doing while, you know, you're awake and getting stuff in place. But if you feel like you're going to go to sleep, I would say blow the candle out. You will not want to wake up and then there's another disaster in your hand because, like you guys have mentioned, if you got pets and cats might knock the candle over, probably not on purpose, and then that's another disaster. So it's a choice. It's one of the suggestions that if you do it and if you need to use it, if you have vision, then don't just go to sleep with the candle lit.
Yeah, this is Jody again.
Go ahead, Jody.
I was going to say, you know, I love container candles, which I use all the time, and I put them on top of the stove, on my flat top stove, so that, you know, they're way back from the edge. But container candles are much safer than a regular candle too.
Okay.
This is Richard again. I think Jody is reading my mind. This is scary because I was going to mention that before. I was like, there is containers that at least it's safer. You know, it's contained in a container. They got all kinds of different ones. They got metal, they got glass, and
yeah.
It's scary. Jody is reading my mind. So
usually those scented candles too, right? Those are one to be like in containers.
Yes, they are, and they just have ones that are not scented too. They got all of them, and they even have them inside a lantern deal where it's a big lantern and it's got a mirror in the back, so it kind of gives more light if you need it, and it's contained. But again, it's your preference, and be as safe as you can. But Jody is reading my mind with that, so
your mind to my mind.
Hey, you guys are Vulcans.
Vulcan mind readers. That's a different meeting, Jody. Let's keep to this one.
You either Vulcans or you're Betazoids.
This is Jen.
Yeah, I'm a Trekkie too. Sorry. Go ahead.
This is Jen.
Go ahead, Jen.
There are also battery-operated candles. I don't know how bright they are, but those do exist.
Anybody online with vision to high broth? I've never had a battery operated candle. Not saying it doesn't exist. I just never had one. Yeah, Jody.
Yeah, they're not very bright. They're mostly for putting in the window as a decoration to look like a candle. But hey, George, you got to join our Trekkie talk.
I know, and I see the announcements all the time, but never have been in. So I'm gonna have to make it count because I can talk Trek just as long as I
All
can talk
right,
about this
good.
stuff every fourth Thursday. I think y'all might get tired of me. I'll be chiming in a lot.
That'd be great.
I'm weird like that. A good weird though. Okay. Moving on. All right. Talking about 1 second. 7:47, doing a time check. Okay. Tornadoes. Now, the difference between, and this is, self-explanatory. Like I mentioned, when I started talking about hurricanes, if there's a silver lining about them, you can see them coming. Tornadoes, you cannot. Tornadoes said, hey, I'm here. Enjoy the ride, like an earthquake. If you have a way of accessing, I think this still exists, the NOAA weather radio. Get yourself one of those. Those it's kind of like the Weather Channel on radio, where they always constantly giving updates in your area about the weather. And then it would give an alert to you. Although nowadays the emergency alert system, if there disasters are coming, whatever it's tornado, that sound will come not only on your TV or your radio, but now they come on your cell phone with that loud tone that you hear. Which is the same tone that you hear for amber alerts or silver alerts. If your home has a basement, get into it. Now, I think in Houston, but I knew in Louisiana, especially in New Orleans, most of that city was below sea level, so we didn't really have basements. But they say that's one of the best places to go to if a tornado is coming to your area, to be away from any open doors or any open windows or doorways and from things flying around. Go to your basement if your home has a basement. I'm about to show my ignorance to my Canadians here. Do you guys get tornadoes at a certain time of the year like we get here in the States? And they usually attack in rural areas, I mean, a lot of suburban areas where there's a lot of wide open space. People who live in like trailers, they are severe threats from tornadoes approaching.
This is Ed.
Go ahead, Ed.
We do get the occasional tornado. There's a lot of them up north. If you're going up north, you'll see the tornado where it's cut through the trees and stuff. But we don't get a lot in areas with people. Maybe one a year or something.
Okay. But for those in the States, they say go to your basement. If an area is cluttered, clear it out or start working on clearing it out so you can have your clear space to hide down that. And tornadoes, although they are severe, they don't last long. They're not that sustaining like hurricanes are. Hurricanes can happen for hours at a time. Tornadoes is usually in a matter of like probably 2, 3, 5 minutes, but it can really cause a lot of damage in that amount of time because of the rotation. If you do not have a basement, find a small room on the lowest level of your large closet. So if you got a house and you don't have a basement, but just find a very small room, like maybe like a coat closet or something like that, and just get on that floor, away from anywhere where flying debris can hit you, which leads to stay away from windows and any doors that probably are in front of those windows, because a tornado, the vacuum of the air could break that window even if the window's closed. I think I read somewhere they said leave the window open if a tornado is coming. So because of the rotation of the tornado, that funnel cloud could shadow your window. So that would help that from happening if your window is open. If you need to stay in touch with loved ones who don't live in your area, then that's when social media really could come into place. Yes, social media is good for telling stories, sharing information, sharing jokes like I do from time to time, but it's also good to check in with everyone who's probably, they hear about a tornado in your area, that way you can let them know that you are safe and everything's fine, once it's all over with. Okay, let's discuss, since we are in that area right now, extreme heat. Oh, before I leave tornadoes, anybody else have any comments about tornadoes or questions regarding tornadoes? Okay. This particular presentation is sponsored by Crickets. And since we're hearing crickets, we're going to move on. That commercial is over. I just made it up. There really is no, we're not being sponsored by a place called Crickets. If Mike was here, he probably would play a sound effect for me with it, though. Extreme heat. Now, this is a period of time that when temperatures and humidity are above 90 for a period of multiple days. In extreme heat, the way I was told that your body works is that is working extremely harder to maintain a particular or normal body temperature. So don't just rely on the fan to keep you cool. Fans may create a false sense of comfort, but fans will not reduce your body temps. So yeah, it's a quick relief that if you're hot, get in front of a fan, sleep in front of a fan. But according to the studies that I've read, it does not lower the body heat if you are exposed to a lot of extreme heat. Go to a cooling place in your area, such as a shopping mall, a recreational center, a library, someplace, it's a big building that's open during the daytime when heat are at its highest point. And that way you can keep cool. If you happen to be in an unfortunate situation where you don't have a way of having access to central air or window units, if your house is made like that you got a window unit air conditioning and you just need to be cool. We may have some elderly parents that probably may be a little stubborn, don't want to leave their home for at no point. But if you got a rapport with them enough, or one of your people do, get them out of that heat. Nobody over the age of 85 needs to be in a non-air conditioned place during the daytime when it's 95, 97 degrees, where the heat index may be like 110, 112. I mean, that's dangerous. Even if they're drinking water, being hydrated does help. But I like to say, let's just take them to, maybe this is a good time to share some time with them. Let's go to a movie, tell that grandparent or elderly relative, let's go to the mall, let's go shopping, let's go eat some ice cream or something. And if I was in New Orleans, we have a thing that we call snowballs, which is like a snow cone, but it's in a cup and they're flavorable. You can get kind of like all different kind of flavors, like strawberry, grape, fruit punch, pineapple, bubblegum, spearmint. And they just got the flavors are endless, almost like Baskin and Robbins with their flavors of ice cream. But that's a New Orleans thing. So I'll say, definitely, if somebody is in a place like that, there's all kind of creative ways to get them to a very cool place. Some cities even set up cooling centers, and they'll report. They have like the local news stations to report if you need to be someplace cool, go someplace cool. They got centers set up that you can go and hang out at. But there's plenty of things to do rather than just being out there in the heat. No one who is an able-bodied or who is able to communicate should be saying, I didn't have no place to go because it's hot. They got too many places they have access to that. Cover your windows with drapes or window shades or something like that to help combat the sun. I know a lot of days we use mini blinds. I don't know, do anybody even use drapes anymore? I know my mom used to watch the home and garden channel, where that's where she got a lot of her decorating ideas from. And during that time, they have like drapes to match whatever the decor is of the room, whatever it's the paint or the carpet or the furniture. They had different colors. Well, she would have drapes to cover that. But drapes are actually good for shielding the frost temperatures in the wintertime, but also shielding the sun and helping the AC not work so hard. But mini blinds, make sure they are closed, turned away, whatever you can do to shield that from the sun, or get one of those window shades. We've said this a lot: drink lots of water, keep yourself hydrated. If you have to go out, drink lots of water, wear light colored clothing. I don't think it'd be a very good idea to go if it's 99 degrees outside and you decide to be all dressed out, decked out in black. Have no idea. I never studied the science as to why that particular color seems to hold heat so much. If anybody got any scientific theories, you're welcome to come off mic and share that. But I just always heard, and I've been can testify that when you wear black, it tends to have you hot. Even when you go into like an AC place, if you at a meeting, you at work, sometimes having dark colored clothing can make you never cool enough. Okay, gonna move on from. Hey, Richard.
I don't know about the black colored myself. I don't have the answer for that, but the curtains and the shades is great because they have thermal curtains.
Mm-hmm.
And when you mentioned the color black for, it holds heat, well, black thermal curtains are the best to actually use for, again, it's everybody's preference, but
mm-hmm.
They got curtains out there that are see-through and decorative where it doesn't, I don't even know why you would have them up because that won't hold anything out, but the thermal style curtains, and I try to get the hard, thick style to where the sun doesn't come through. And I just got new ones and just put them up, and I went with black because you just mentioned it. It keeps the sun out during the summer, but even during the winter, it will keep heat in and the cold out. So the thermal curtains are great, and I usually get the heavy style to keep any form of light out.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Anybody else have any comments about heat and combating the sun?
This is Melinda.
Hey, Melinda.
Hi. So there's a couple things I know I do to help stay hydrated. I don't have hypertension challenges, so I will also eat more salty foods like sunflower seeds to help you retain the water that
mm-hmm.
you're trying to keep in.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I had a dog, we had cooling pads for her that they're kind of like vinyl pads that when she would lay on it, it would be cool to the touch and help, keep her nice and cool. And there are some that are pretty big that we would actually use them occasionally ourselves.
Hey, you just brought up another interesting question. Let me pose this to you guys in the audience. Those of you who have pets or who have service animals, what do you guys do to keep them cool if you have to travel? Well, maybe I'm going to ask, does anybody on here travel with service animals? We all cane travels here?
This is Melinda again. So I can say the cooling pads if you're somewhere like stationary. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, usually I had a water bottle that was insulated, so I could put cold water in it and it would stay cold. And it had a bowl that screwed onto the bottom of it to make sure she could always have access to water. Mm-hmm. And it was big enough that, if I needed to wipe her down on her chest and belly and stuff like that and her paws, because those are sort of the dog's cooling points that I had enough water to do that.
Are both dogs and cats, even if they're not service animal dogs, do they just have like a natural instinct? They know how to really shade themselves. They're not going to just stay in the heat. Is my assumption correct? Because again, I don't have a pet at all. I've been around
my
them.
girl was black, so she got heated very, very quickly. And as she got older, she didn't understand she needed to come out of the sun earlier than what she used to. But it's also like you as the person have to be responsible in recognizing when your animal is struggling, because they might not have a way to get out of the cool themselves.
Okay. And that's always good, because I know everybody does it too. They always leave, especially if they have to leave the house and they're not taking their pet with them, and make sure they have access to good water. So there'd be a lot of water bowls and stuff like that. So I know that's a common thing.
This is Richard again. I have a cat, so yes. And when you mentioned that they get out of the heat themselves, and she's not an outside cat, but she does struggle a lot, even if it's hot in the house. So I try to keep it cool for her during the summers, and I think I made her spoiled, because she won't touch her water during the summer unless there's ice cubes in it. So now if I put water down for her in the summer and I keep a lot of water down for her and there's no ice in it, she looks at me like, I don't want this. Where's my ice? Oh, yeah. So I think I made her spoiled there, but yeah, she'll jump up in front of the fan and lay down, or she'll find a cool spot. But I mostly do try to keep it cool enough in the apartment for her. So. And the lady before said, yes, sometimes you got to watch, because they don't understand, like, hey, I'm hot, I don't want to really move. So that's when you got to take the initiative and kind of get them somewhere cool.
Okay.
This is Shay.
Hey, Shay.
Hi. Just, I love the part about the ice. We just found also that because my family loves ice, we're in Washington, in Seattle. We don't really need it, but they're spoiled. Right now, they have an on-the-counter ice machine on sale at Walmart for $99, which is a really good deal. So for you folks that are down in the South where it's much warmer, I don't know if you use things like that. Our freezer just doesn't keep up with us. So I think we're going to splurge and have that, and it'll be good for the heat that we do get here in the summer.
It's like a portable ice machine, or it's like a big appliance?
I don't think it's very big. It's supposed to fit on your counter. It looks like a kind of like a silver. I think it comes in white also. It looks like a food processor, or I got the impression that it was probably 18 inches tall by maybe 10 inches wide. I'm just guessing. A friend of mine sent me a picture of it, so I haven't investigated it thoroughly yet. It sounded like fun, though.
Okay. All right. I like gadgets, so I might look into that. Okay, I'm going to move on now to home fires, which hopefully hopefully no one ever have to go through that. But just to kind of protect yourself from a fire inside your home, it's a good idea and a good practice to check your smoke alarms. The smoke alarms that are in your apartment or home, that's the little round thing that's either is going to be up high on the wall or it's in the ceiling near your door jamb. And most of them have a little small button that sticks out, and you can press that, and it will give you like one little beep as a way of letting you know that your smoke detector is still functioning. Now, most smoke detectors, if your battery is running low or if it's dirty, you may get that little high-pitched beep that occurs like every 2.5 minutes or something like that. To me, it's extremely annoying. It's very noticeable. I don't know if it's just me, because I pay attention to my sense of hearing a lot. And a high pitch like that, it just, look, we got to do something about this. Now, some people who really, I guess, get immune to it, they don't even, I guess the beep becomes the ambience of their room or their place where they live, so they tend to ignore it. But me, because I could be talking to someone on the phone and I can hear this beep, just beep. I've been on Clubhouse, been in rooms, and someone talking, and you can constantly hear this beep like like I said, like 2 minutes, 2.5, maybe even more frequent than that. And they just like, they don't even notice it. And I'm like, hey, don't you think you need to change that? And like, change what? I said, we hear your thing beeping. Oh, man, I don't even hear that. I'm like, I don't know how you don't, because it's extremely noticeable. Who's that? Oh, that's somebody was trying to say something. But yeah, you press that button to test it, make sure it's working. If you ever get that beep, yeah, that means if your smoke detector takes 9-volt batteries, most of them do. Some take like maybe AA or AAA batteries. So just make sure that they are definitely functioning. Replace the batteries. I'll say it was recommended here when I looked at, I don't remember the site that I gone to, but it says good to replace them twice a year. Or if you notice that you're hearing a little beep, yes, definitely an indicator. Let's go ahead and replace it. In case of a fire, if you're in your home, or if you live in an apartment complex like I do, or if you're in a hotel, locate the stairs. Now I make it a practice that I do every hotel that I stay in, whatever floor I'm on, whatever room I'm in, I want to know where the stairs are. In the event something happens, an emergency breakout, which they tell you don't use the elevators. Well, I want to be, if I hear alarms going off, not like sometimes the airlines do, you stay here, we're going to get everybody off, and then we're going to come and get you. No, you're not either. Trust me, if there's a fire or something going on, you may have to, don't look for me in this place. Maybe call me and find out where I'm at, away from the establishment. I am not waiting around. And I know a lot of facilities will say that to those who have a physical disability, including vision. They may make up their evacuation plan or emergency prepare plan without consulting the individual first, and then come back into you that says, well, we're going to have somebody assigned to you. So, this person will come and get you. No, they better follow me, because I'm not waiting around. But it's always a good practice. Like I say, this is what I do. Whatever floor I'm on, and before I get too comfortable, yes, I'm going to put my bags down, hang up whatever I need to hang up, but I'm going to go locate these stairs at some point before I go to sleep that first night. So it'll already click in my mind, involuntarily, that when I go out my door, the stairs are to the right at the end of the hall, or the stairs are to the left. Have 2 plans to escape if you need to. We mentioned about the stairs. If you have to hang out, if your place has a balcony or a big enough lift, I don't know. Just don't put yourself in a position where you can't get out. Or if let's say if it's big enough and fire department comes out, you'll be able to wave to them to let you know where you are. Let them know I'm up here. So just have some plans, like I said, the stairs. You can't do the elevators. If there's a fire escape, locate it, or get to your window. If you need to break your window, if you're in a hotel, if a big fire is breaking out, they'll be okay. I don't think you're gonna get charged for it, but some kind of way to whoever's the what they call those first offenders, not first offenders, first I can't think of the word I'm looking for.
First response.
First responders. Yeah, there you go. The first offenders. Give them notification that you are where you are, so they can have a plan to try to get to you. Sleep, if you're able to, with the bedroom door open. Keep your fire extinguishers in your kitchen charged. Make sure they're charged. If you don't know how to charge them, contact the leasing office, or I would say just go to the closest fire station to you and have one of them to come by. They'll do that for you. There's no cost to that. They'll come by and make sure your fire extinguisher, or if you're able to unhook it from with us attached to on the wall, bring it down into the test it there, or somebody will come and do that. Now, hopefully, that leasing office will have somebody make this to make sure that thing is fully charged as well. So we'll
This
make
is
sure.
Vincent. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Vincent. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to make a comment about stairs in hotels or emergency exits. Always, make sure that you check not only the one that is close to you, but another one, because you don't never know where the fire is going to be, whether it's going to be to the left or to the right of your room. So
Mhm.
you always, it's always better to be aware of, how far the fire exits are on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
And also, some hotels actually have doors that will close, that are fireproof when there's a fire on one side, and they close, so the fire will not
When I spread to that area,
spread
correct.
to that area. And the same thing when you're traveling on an airplane. Always to make sure you're aware of where the emergency exits are, both in front of you and behind you. And before you open any doors, any place, whatever, always touch the doors. Make sure that there's, if they are very hot, that means that there's a fire on the other side. So don't open that. We'll have to look for, another option, like you said, breaking windows or something like that. So just to make sure that you're not engulfed by the fire if there's one on the other side of the door.
Correct. Absolutely. Might be a good practice too. Like you say, if you touch the door and it's hot, which means the fire is probably near your area or right outside your door, put like a towel or something on the bottom of it so the smoke, your room won't get filled up with smoke.
Also, if you have to leave your room and there is already smoke, it's always good before you leave your room to get a towel, a wet towel, and take it with you, wrap it around your head, maybe get another one so you can breathe into that, and you will not be overcome by the smoke, because many times if you inhale too much smoke, then that would make you pass out. So having a wet towel to breathe into would protect your face. And
Correct. And for those of you who have pets, if you need to evacuate because of fire, have a plan to grab your pets. You don't want to go out and then you're worrying about, I gotta go again and get whatever her name is or his name is. Usually firemen say, no, we're going to get them. But if you, and we all are attached, those of us have pets to our pets, they're like a family member. Just have a plan for them that if you evacuate them, do your necessary things and make sure they're on the list of things to do to grab he or she as well, whatever it is, so that when you evacuate them, both of you guys get out safely.
This is Richard.
Hey, Richard.
I'm the pet part, yes. I have two things here. When it comes to the pets, the cats, usually the cat carriers. So if you have cat carriers, definitely keep them. And depending on the size of your cat, I would kind of keep updating your cat carrier, because you don't want the cat carrier being too small and the cat being Garfield, which my cat's Garfield, and so I didn't need a small one, so make sure it's comfortable too for the pet and they're not cramped. And a dog too as well. They got dog carriers and so forth, but the preference. And the next part of this is I had asked the fire department a couple of years back, this is 2014, because you were talking about fires, we had a fire here in this apartment. And the thing of it is the fire was not visible. The fire was not in a place that was visible. The fire was inside the wall.
Ooh.
And until we actually found out that there was a fire in the wall, there was a great amount of damage and a great amount of things that were happening very quickly, because I had just gone outside and I'm smelling smoke. I'm smelling it very thick and I'm smelling it very heavy, and I'm saying to myself, that is not good, and that's very close, but I don't know. And at the time I had eyesight. I lost my eyesight in 2015, so where is that coming from? So, and little did I know, it was literally inside our dining room wall and kitchen wall, and went all the way back to our bathroom wall, and the second and third floor apartments were extremely affected. They didn't even have a floor and a ceiling because they didn't even know it was inside the wall. And so I asked the fire department, how can we find out or detect something on that level when a fire started with inside a wall because of electronic problem or electrical problem? How do we find that out, or how do we even know that happens? And I didn't really get anything back. So that is something to be very, very cautious about, because fires you can't see can be very dangerous.
That is scary. Fire inside the wall, because you're right. Yeah, you can smell the smoke, but you just don't know where it's coming from.
Right, and the third floor apartment, they didn't have a ceiling. The third floor apartment, it went all the way to the sky. So the third floor apartment had a skylight put in, whether they liked it or not, and you can see right up through. And our apartment had significant damage in the wall of the dining room and bathroom because it went that far. And so the only thing I suggest, if you're smelling smoke and it's that close, that heavy, and it does not smell like it's a chimney, it actually smells, I would suggest do not hesitate to call the fire department and tell them, hey, I'm smelling smoke here, and I don't see a fire, I don't know where it's coming from, but it's definitely, something is not right. So don't hesitate to call the fire department if you see smoke like that, but don't know where the fire is.
Mm-hmm. And I know you hear too a lot that if a fire is like on your floor or is near, they say always do your best to stay down low. Don't try to be up high. Crawl if you could, because the smoke is, the heat rises and so does the smoke. I haven't checked the news in a while. Those of you who are guys in Canada, has those wildfires been controlled yet? Anybody on here still in Canada?
This is Ed.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know. I haven't heard a lot about the wildfires, but I think they're still burning. I think there's lots of. Anybody up in Ottawa there know anything about them?
No, guess not. Okay.
Oh well. Sorry, I couldn't be of more help.
That's okay. No. Apologize. That's okay. I'm deviating from the program since I know we got people here from Canada and we talking about fires. That's why that triggered my mind on that. Okay, I'm gonna briefly, because I know the last time I did this, we had somebody on here who was like in a very active area where these particular disasters are, but I don't think they're on here tonight. So I'm just gonna grab what I was able to do from research. Talking about earthquakes. Now, earthquakes, it says if you are in a car, have the driver to pull over and set the parking brake, and somebody needs to mute yourself unless you're seeking to speak. Because before I can hear TV set in the background. Your background is very loud. Okay, thank you. All right. If you are in an area with earthquake, they say if you are in a car, have the driver to pull over and set the parking brake. Then, if you're in bed, turn face down and cover your head with a pillow. If you are outdoors, stay away from buildings if you can. If you are inside, stay inside and do not run outside and avoid doorways. Drop down to your hands and knees and hold on. Hold on to something. I know it's not funny, but just the way it says. Drop down to your knees and hold on till it becomes steady. Hold on to something sturdy, something that hopefully won't break apart because of the ground shaking. If you're in a wheelchair, lock your wheels and remain seated until the shaking stops. And that's all I have about earthquakes. Anybody lives in an earthquake or in the West Coast that you can add, if anybody's on here who experienced an earthquake, do you have any tips on how to survive an earthquake besides just riding it out? Because you really don't have a choice.
This is Vincent.
Okay. Go ahead, Vincent.
Well, that actually, it really wouldn't apply. I lived in Mexico for many years, and Mexico City in particular, and we have earthquakes pretty much on a daily basis. There are more tremors. They are not really felt by most people. It's similar to California, but they are registered. But every once in a while, there is a very strong one. And but the type of construction that we have down there is different. There is a lot of concrete and cement and bricks. So the one of the advices would be to go to a door frame once again, because it is it's made out of cement. It's not something that would collapse on you. But another thing is that if you're in a house or something, if you have a sturdy table, metal table, or a heavy wooden table, to go under that in case the ceiling, collapses, that would protect you from that. And just maybe use a blanket or a heavy quilts or whatever it is to protect yourself, just to have some area around you in case the roof collapses, and so you would have some area to breathe. If the earthquake is too intense, this won't help at all. But for something light, it has helped. And like you said, don't run downstairs, because in many instances we've had instances where the staircases collapse. Stay away from windows, and just pray for the best. There is nothing to be in an earthquake, in an intense earthquake, is as powerless. You feel as powerless as being in the middle of a hurricane with 100+ mile-an-hour winds, rain coming down, and there is absolutely nothing that you can do to get away from it. So just like I said, if there's a doorway, if your house is built, with brick concrete or something like that, that helps, or under a heavy table.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I remember there was discussing when I was in 4th grade. I still could hear that today. That if you're in an earthquake, get under a heavy piece of furniture. And heavy piece of furniture could be anything that's extremely heavy. Like you said, a coffee table, not a dining table, get under it. If you're able to, if you got like a big baby grand piano, get under it. Solid pool table, just get anything that's heavy and there's enough room for you to get under it. If you happen to be in bed, hopefully, I don't, as I'm thinking, I know this says if you're in bed, put a pillow over your head, but what if your bedroom has a ceiling fan? I mean, would that be safe? Wouldn't that ceiling fan kind of like probably could get shook loose? I don't know. That thought just popped in my head. So I'm about to find an article about that if you are in a bedroom that has a ceiling fan, would it be? Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. You have to stay away from anything that is hanging from a ceiling, or anything. If you have bookcases on the side of your walls, or anything that could collapse on top of you, you have to get away from those things, because they can collapse. They can fall on you, whether it's a heavy chandelier or a fan, or I mean, if a bookcase with lots of bookcases falls on top of you, that's hundreds of pounds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Vincent. Appreciate that. I hope I never have to experience an earthquake. I think I will panic. That's what I'm telling myself. But I definitely, hopefully, it sticks in my subconscious, these things that I have shared and have read to do. And hopefully I have an ability to get to the safe zones to be able to ride it out.
This is Ed.
Go ahead.
Is it best to go to a small room like a bathroom or a closet or something that's got a close frame so nothing can fall in?
If it has an enclosed frame, yes, but unfortunately, most of the houses, all we have is sheetrock. So even though there is a division in a closet, there's really no support. It's nothing but it's something that can collapse. So usually, you would look for to go under a beam. Usually, if there's a basement, there are beams that you can probably be safer in. But in a house, yes, you can go by a door frame. Really, being in a small room doesn't mean much unless it is has a heavy construction, and most of the houses don't do that. It's just thin materials that can collapse, and it would just you'd be safer if you are under an oak table, for example. You don't want to be under something that is heavy and can collapse on top of you, and hurt you even more. But something that can perhaps break in one area and slide off, or just give you some room to breathe when there's when a whole area has collapsed surrounding you, just so you can either survive and wait until somebody finds you, or just be well. The other thing is also not to lie down. Try to curl up like in a fetal position. You don't want to be spread out, because then your legs could be caught, your arms could be caught, whatever. So it's like a cocoon trait, that you can be in a sort of a cocoon type of environment that would help you.
Well, I was thinking more like if you're upstairs or you're in a bedroom, you're better off, instead of being in a bedroom, you're better off to be in head for a closet or a bathroom. I mean, it'd be safer, wouldn't it?
In a smaller area, yes, because if you're in a large bedroom, then the large bedroom doesn't have any support in the middle, so that area would collapse faster, rather than the ends that are attached to something that is smaller. So yes, like a bathroom, not a closet perhaps, but maybe a bathroom would be a better option.
Yeah, or a hall maybe. Because if you're in a hall, usually there's a main support wall in a hall.
Hopefully the hallway don't have any hanging decorative stuff.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, in the houses, I know, like, the houses that are made out of concrete and brick, you know that the smaller rooms are definitely safer. But in houses like where I live, the second floor. I mean, the sturdiest room is the basement, definitely, because there you have everything that supports the two floors on top of it. But above that, the second floor and the third floor, it's mainly divisions with maybe 2x4s or 2x3s or whatever, but a lot of empty spaces in between. larger rooms, maybe I don't know, 12 by 12 or larger areas that could collapse, and even like you said, the bathroom would give you a slightly better better protection, a smaller room, but in like in my case here, the sturdiest ones would be the basement itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
One other question, George,
Mm-hmm.
concerning tornadoes and hurricanes and all that. If you're in your house, would it be safer if, say, you went downstairs and hit the main breaker and turned your electricity out and cut the gas, like turn the gas valve off, so if anything does, get torn apart or broken and you don't have electricity and gas,
Now, when it
that's
comes to
gonna flow.
tornadoes, since those are extremely fast at popping up, if you have time to do all that, or maybe very cognitive, I would say
Yeah.
and if you can easily get to
Yeah,
turn
but
off your
if you're
gas.
gonna go down to your basement, if you have a basement, you're gonna go
Right.
down there anyway, then
Yeah, if you're down there, yeah.
that would
I
be
would
an
say
important thing to do, maybe. Yeah.
I would definitely say again, if your breaker box is down there for electricity, yeah, do that. Save all of that. Keep for anything sparking up.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I would agree with that. Now, I'm not no
Okay.
official prepared person, but it just makes sense to me what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Okay.
If you're able to do that. All right. Does anybody else anything? I'm going to do a recap. I think I've covered every disaster thing I've done research on. Unless if I left out a particular disaster thing, or emergency prepared thing for any type of thing that may happen that I may have not covered.
This is Melinda again. I just have one quick point.
Go ahead.
I have extra like backup canes all over my house, mostly for this reason. So if there's a fire, I don't need to go searching for my cane, or if I tip it over, I have one, a backup one on the back of my outside door. I have one on the sliding door. I just have them in like a to-go bag. I very much have backup canes.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Absolutely. Okay. Someone else was saying something?
Yes, Patricia. This is Patricia. I've
Yeah,
been on a
Patricia.
tornado. I've been on a tornado for the first time in my life. I went in the bathroom, and it didn't last long, but I heard all the scratching and heard some glass or something like that. I just had minor damage, but it sucked up the leaves and threw it somewhere in a ditch over there where the other houses were. This is my first time ever happened.
How long did it last, if you can recall?
It didn't last long. I would say less than a minute, probably like 30 seconds or something. It wasn't long, but I think it did kind of shake our house a little bit, and because my mother see the crack underneath the door jamb, and I thought it was I got a 2-story shed. I have a little office on top of the shed. I thought the storm was gonna come and just to wipe out my office, but it didn't. It just sucked up. It just the windows, the glass, it didn't hit inside. It I guess it imploded or something, and the glass popped outside. It popped out outside because it wasn't a straight line wind. Maybe if it was a straight line wind, I probably would have blew the glass inside. But no glass inside. It was all outside. But it was just a few window panes, and we didn't have major damage. And
That's good.
It ripped
Thank God.
it ripped the carport out and scratched the car, but our car was still running. But it ripped the carport off and put some of the and wrapped some of the tin around the tree. It's amazing. It's amazing how it did that.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
you
Thanks for sharing.
yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Go
You
ahead.
said when there's an earthquake, you get under a sturdy bench or something?
Something heavy, something heavy piece of furniture. That's what it says.
Why is that?
Well, if it's something heavy that's very sturdy, hopefully it wouldn't shake so much. And then if things are flying around, it'll land on top of that, shielding it from you. So that's the
Okay.
thing. When I looked this up, I didn't grab the details or explanation, but it just made logically sense to me that yeah, if you under something heavy, like I had mentioned, a heavy dining room table or a baby grand piano, if you have that, it's a shield, it's a shelter. So
Okay.
if there's any debris flying around, it's going to hit it and not hit you.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
no problem.
This is
Any,
Jen.
go ahead, Jen.
Do you have any information on flooding? If there's a bad flood in your area that might be affecting your home?
Okay, and shame on me. Well, I thought I had that, but as I'm looking through my whole thing, I don't have it. But flooding is definitely something. I guess this will be tied onto hurricanes because hurricanes can cause floods. Because they basically it's sustainable for a length of time to cause floods. Now, if you happen to be in a two-story facility, or if you are in a place where you're on the upper floor, there's a great chance that you are safe from the flood. That depends on how long that water sustains in there and whether it's going to cause any damage. But if you're on the first floor, especially if it's going to, pay attention to weather reports. You get what they call flash flood watch and flash flood warnings. Flood flood warnings, of course, means there's a strong chance flooding may take place. Flash flood watch, I may have that backwards. I know one of them meaning there's a strong potential chance that a flood could take place. One of them is just the weather is severe enough that it may cause a flood. So you definitely want to pay attention to the weather reports. And normally they will, offer some suggestions too as well if floods going to take place. They always say it's like seek higher ground. So if you have the ability to seek higher ground, do that. Meaning if you own a one-story house and you have a way of getting to the attic, go up there to ride it out, especially if you notice the water is rising in the area where you are. And hopefully it won't last long, that they give a chance to subside. If you also in a one-story area and special floods coming, then yeah, definitely unplug all the electronics. So you want to preserve them as best you can. Put them up high if you can, so the water, you won't get any water damage to it. Any small ones, definitely going to get them high where. And if you have to, flooding is also one of the things that you see in advance. If you need to evacuate out of your home or whatever to go to higher ground, do that. And it's another one of those things too. We have like a escape bag pack put together, where you have like non-perishable foods or items, some liquids to drink, batteries, chargers, and all those things too. If you need to take them with you, do everything you can, then just stay there.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm sure we're going to be doing this presentation again, so I'll make sure to add flood to my list of things too. But I just think flood could be tied into how you prepare for a hurricane. Go ahead, Sandia.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess what you just said it. I mean, really be aware. I mean, water is a very dangerous thing, and just quick story. I mean, I thought I was fine and didn't want to leave my house, and within the night, we had like 2 feet of water in our house. So you've got to really try to be aware, and it may look okay for now, but it's better to be safe than sorry. How many times have we heard that? So that's something I learned. I mean, we all try to think we don't need to do this. I don't want to leave my home, but it can really be very dangerous too. So
This is
I actually
Ned.
used to go ahead, Ned.
Yes, I think flooding is not just with hurricanes, but also when our snow melts after the
Oh
winter.
yeah.
We have flooding on rivers up north, like, in Iowa and
Hmm.
Minnesota and Illinois. There's states that flood because of the rivers crusting. So it's not just with hurricanes, but those people, I'm sure, get advance notice and warnings to evacuate when the rivers are going to crest.
Absolutely, especially with it is Buffalo that always seems to get like 7 feet of snow every year. And I'm sure, yeah, eventually the snow is going to melt, which definitely will cause flooding. But that is so true. Um, I actually, everyone, well, I don't do it anymore as much, but I remember when I was basically just surviving my experience with Katrina, I used to think, man, if we would have just stayed, what things I would have done to try to survive it? Because, again, remember I said it had like 6.5, 7 feet of water got into the house. I was thinking that maybe if I would have gotten like on the top shelf of my closet, that's not 7 feet up, would I have been able to stay there? But then I'm thinking too, I don't think that shelf was sturdy enough that it would have supported me all that time. I mean, this is days because the storm came on the 29th of August. I'm not sure exactly when the waters got in there, but I think it was like a week and a half later that they was able to measure how high did the water go. So then I know we had an attic, but I never don't recall walking around in the attic if the flooring up there would have been strong enough to sustain me for a long enough time. I know we had some supplies and stuff up there, but being in the attic, I don't know if it would shield you from the natural life, like bugs or creepy crawly things that could get up there. I don't know. I just had thoughts like that, that I'm glad we did decide to take advantage of the shelter that we was offered, and rather than just trying to stay in the house. And we were a one-story house, and it was low to the ground. It wasn't even elevated. So, yeah, water is not anything to play with at all. Even if you know how to swim, flood waters is not nothing to play with. So, yeah, definitely pay attention to your reports and do what you can and do and have a plan.
This is Richard.
Go ahead.
The hurricanes that have happened here in New York, I mean, like I heard before, they can't predict where they're going to happen, and big hurricanes can hit a big area. And we had two big hurricanes, and this is, again, before I lost my eyesight, and that was Hurricane Irene and Hurricane Sandy.
Sandy, that's what I was thinking of. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were. Hurricane Irene was first, and they were big enough and strong enough to hit up here in my area, which I'm about 100 so miles from the city north. And they were able to come up this way, and flooding, and the property I am living on still to this day has a river, well, not a river, my fault, go way smaller. It's a creek, but at that time it turned into a river. It's a little creek. It is behind back. It's right across this parking lot from me, and it runs in between two buildings here into a nice big pond in between. So the pond is sitting right dead center of this property. And then it feeds off, it goes out to Route 9 here and then into the river. Well, Hurricane Irene, when that happened, it flooded over the street. You couldn't even see the driveway to leave. And it was starting to flood over the parking lot so bad that you couldn't even see the side of the pond, the grass. It went up to the hill, and it really did its thing to where you couldn't see any part of that. So be careful even walking, because after everything settled and it was okay, I decided to go out trotting around and walking around, and yeah, I went through it. I walked through it, and it was going up to my waist, and I tried to go to the highest point where I know the road was, and it was still going up to my waist. So it's very scary, and it can be. And Sandy came through about 2 years later and did the same thing. I'm going to finish up with this saying, floods, hurricanes, fires, we've all know of it, and I hear the words, don't panic. I don't like it, and yet I do. I say the words, try not to panic, because we're all
Absolutely.
different. We're all different. I mean, I don't like when somebody says, don't panic. No, I say try not to panic, try to keep your sanity and cool, and stay with it, and try not to panic, and keep yourself with yourself, and get what you need, and get family, relatives, loved ones, pets, and the only way you can do that is to try to not panic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Try not to panic. Do your best to stay calm. And I'll even go a step further and say, although we don't ever want to experience that, it's nothing fun at all since I've been through it. Try to, at some point, be mindful, keep it like within your subconscious, because when stuff is in your subconscious, that kind of helps you to, when things need to be like, you need to do things based on reflex or react to the conditions or the surroundings around you. That may help as well to keep you calm as well. But again, each situation is going to be different. They're all kind of contributing factors that could cause you. So the best thing I would say is do your best to not panic, like Richard just said, and do your best to try to stay calm. And one way to stay calm is keep it going over in your mind, a plan of what you would do if this happened. So when it does happen, it'll automatically click in as to what you need to do. I think. Go ahead, Vincent.
Yeah, just one comment. Be very careful when there's water on the ground. There probably will be down cables, and those may be live cables, and you can electrocute yourself. If you go, there are trees or cables down by your car or down by whatever. When you go and touch it, you will be electrocuted. So be very mindful, and also, pay attention. There are signs in many areas, in many cities, where the roads dip, and many cities have signs that if the water level is whatever it is, 7 feet at this particular point, don't try to drive it through. I remember we had some places in Dallas like that. Well, not only in Dallas, in many other cities. And people try to think that they can, go through them just because they have a big vehicle, a pickup truck or something like that, and then they get stranded and carried over by the current. People don't realize how strong the currents are until they are swept by them. So rather than try to, to go through areas where there was no water, where there was no river, and pay attention to the signs, use your common sense, and play it safe. Don't try to don't take chances, even if you think that you have a vehicle that can, probably go through a small amounts of water, and risk your life or the life of other people with you.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that. All right. Here's Sandia.
One last point, it'd be like, just put, whatever decision that we make, it's, it could impact or have effect on other people that have to come and rescue you. So you may not just be, jeopardizing your own safety, but you're also, making a decision that could, affect other people that have to come and get you out later. So that's another thought.
Okay, great put. So just to kind of wrap up, because we are like in the last 9 minutes, just to kind of summarize, and all this is going to tie to, like we had said in the beginning. One thing to do is to be prepared, is to make sure you have all of your important documents in a place that you can easily get to them. Such important documents as, of course, we talked about the identification, your insurance card, your medical cards, and your prescriptions. If you, those who are on prescribed meds, make sure you can get to those in a point that you need to have to evacuate if you need to do that, or be in a safe place, whatever disaster that you are facing. Have a first aid kit. Make sure your first aid kit is fully stocked with everything that you're going to need for that in case that's necessary. Keep that next to your medical supplies. What I mean by medical supplies, your prescriptions and things like that. Have a things put together for if you need to travel, meaning stack up on non-perishable items. If you need to, have something to that you need to snack on, whatever. Keep water around so that you keep yourself hydrated. You need to be hydrated no matter what condition is going on. Our body is, what they say, 75 or 90% water. So we need that. 90% liquid, so we need that. Always good to have that around. And emergency contact information's available. Our smart devices. There is, I think, a help section that you can set these things up. That if you need to trigger that, it would trigger people that you can put on this list. And you can have as many as you want. So they would know your conditions, they know your phone numbers. And let's say even if it's a place, we hope this won't happen. It just popped into my head to do this too. If you're in an area where you may suffer from some kind of heat exhaustion, you pass out. Although your phone can still be locked, but they can't access the emergency part or the help section if they need to notify, somebody, what has happened to you. Somebody was to discover you. So you can also set that part up as well on all your smart devices. Keep portable power for charging your phones or your tablets, whatever you have. Keep all those things together so that because the main thing is we just want you to be prepared. And if you need to evacuate and escape, have a plan. Know where you're going to go to, who you can count on, that if they're going to take in, if you can't really get to the hotel, let them know, okay, you see what's going on here. We come and be ready. We appreciate it. And thank them for it as well. If they have to take you in, remember, it's not your place. Well, that should be self-explanatory. Respect the place where you're going to as well, and show appreciation to them for allowing them to take you up. All right, guys. I thank you for being here. Any closing comments or remarks that we got from anybody?
Yeah, this is Richard.
Good, Richard.
The files and documents, the importance there. The actual paper file works if you're on disability, SSI, or your medical insurance. The actual file paperwork, to keep that safe too at home, they do have lock boxes that are waterproof and fireproof. So you can put them in the lock box, and their carrier, you can even carry them. There's some that are big where they're just stationary. Some are small, like almost like a suitcase briefcase, but they're small carry lock boxes. They're waterproof, fireproof, so you can even keep them safe. Let's just say you're not home and something should happen, but at least certain documents could be protected and safe from that happening and you're not home.
Okay. I think it was Melissa, I think it was name. She also mentioned something too about, I forgot what she called those bags. She said that's also good for storing stuff in, and they're sealable. I forgot what she called them. I'll have to check the.
This is Ned.
Go ahead, Ned.
I think she called them dry bags.
Dry bags, okay. Something like that. I'm going to find that out. All right. Well, we are going to do this again next month. I think the date will be the 27th of July, if my mental calendar is correct. That'll be the next time we will gather together. And I think, that's July. Stay tuned for what the topic is going to be. I was almost thinking about, I know it's going to be in August, but we're not ready to reveal what the July topic is going to be, but that will be coming shortly. So thank you guys for coming out. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope this information was valuable to others. And for you guys who are new, we thank you for coming. Come back. Spread
Thanks
the
a lot,
word.
George.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you, George. You're welcome.